It's quite interesting because during the filmmaking process, I did have quite like a wobble, like as a director, thinking like, is this film too feminine? I don't know why I was worried about that. Like, of course a film can be too feminine, that's fantastic.
It should be.
It should be too feminine.
Hi everyone, welcome to Patagonia, Bristol. We are here with Charlotte and Aggie. My name is Sonia and we're going to tell you a bit more about Raven for the Avon and what have we achieved in 2024.
So yeah, we're part of a campaign called Save Our Avon. So yeah, getting married to the river.
Onto agenda petition debate to address sewage pollution in the Avon.
It's a film about people who love and fight for the river in very, very unique ways. This was the year that Rave for the Avon premiered in Bristol, and it was just a really wonderful opportunity to celebrate that creativity that's in the film. So I felt like we started with a bang.
Being part of the swim community is just like you get to really know and understand what the river means to the people. This story just like kind of morphed into what it is now.
It became this interweaving tapestry of people who love the river and fighting for the river. I didn't realise that people could have a relationship with the river. I think that's something that we explore in the film.
Oh, I swim in the river most days, rain or snow. If I don't do this, I'm going to go nuts.
Oh, I hear you. I'm like...
That is nice, tingly. Oh, God. It's really difficult to explain, but I think through the river film and meeting all those people and all those characters and their connection to the river, I feel like I have a different understanding of what it means. This would be my first time swimming in the river. A little bit nervous. Let's see how it goes.
Nervous? It'll be fine. Let's go. You never want to get out. Like mummy.
But I like to go underwater.
Whereas I know how clean this river is and I don't go underwater.
And I feel nice and warm and love it.
What were the highlights of this year when it comes to this film and the reach it has had?
I think a big highlight of this year was that we were featured in The Guardian. Jamie is a really fantastic reporter and he interviewed all of us, and then in the piece that he wrote, he kind of said this film is about love, and I was just like, you get it. We've been on the Today programme on BBC Radio 4 and I've been on ITV Southwest. All of these journalists understand and they want to understand about that love and that relationship. So that's been a real highlight for me.
I think another highlight was when we screened at the IMAX. I mean, the screen is so massive. It was almost like this is the perfect stage for this film, for this story to come to life. And then there was such a good turnout. Always nice to watch your film in cinema, especially to an audience you're not familiar with, and then to see their authentic reaction to it. It's always nice, like in mass reaction to something which you've worked really hard on. But then that was like on a whole nother scale. It was really nice. That was a big highlight, I think.
And one big highlight was hearing from the Q&A of our Bristol screening. You've lit a fire in the belly of people in Bristol, and that was where you were in the audience and you came on board. Like, do you remember that moment? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that very well. I remember going into the film having absolutely no expectation. I saw it and I definitely knew what was the spark, what was the essence of how wonderful and weird and quirky and amazing is the place that we're living in. Bristol as a venue that holds space for us all, the people that live here, their resistance to the ways things are, to the systems that are in place. If they no longer serve us, Bristol is the first place that will be like, let's put some statues down and throw them in the river, or let's find a way to protect the river. Let's find all the magical ways that activism can spark and show. And I think for us, in that sense, for our team, that's been a magnificent year with so many screenings, so many festivals that we've applied for, and then went through the whole process of actively trying to get this film seen. Speaking of which, what's ahead? What lies ahead? What are you excited for in 2025?
2025 is going to bring a UK national cinema run, which I'm so excited about because this film celebrates the kind of the joy and the creativity that can be found in activism. Activism can often be tiring, you get burnt out because you get worried about the issue, frustrated with any campaign losses or bad news that kind of comes out there. When we go back to the rivers to kind of walk by them or swim in them, we kind of get fed and enthused again. So I'm excited for people to gather in a cinema, physical space, watch the film, and then think about what's their local campaign. Take that Bristol spirit and kind of infuse that into their local campaign. And that's why I really love the idea of people gathering together in cinemas to watch the film.
Now, when we've been having some chats with cinemas in different parts of the UK, one of the things that pops up is the same problem exists. The names are changing of the rivers and companies involved, but the problem of water pollution in the UK is same everywhere. For me, that was a surprise. When I first saw the film, I was like, okay, this is an issue in Bristol. And then the more you dig, the more you're like online, I was like, I can't believe this is an issue everywhere in the UK. I would have some chats with cinemas by the sea, and they're like, yeah, the sea where we swim is extremely polluted because those 3 companies just dump whatever there and people get sick all the time. And I was like, that is so shocking. What you've said about that climate activism and how it's so easy to feel resigned and undone and hopeless. And I think Raven for the Avon is one of those beacons of hope and glimmers of light out there about what can you do with that feeling. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And finding creative ways for that energy to have somewhere to go in a way that's productive and hits the nail on its head.
Now Meg is going to make her vows. Do you call on all the courage and determination you possess to raise awareness of the issues facing this and every river? I do.
Now the film is made, the film is out, and it's going places. Why should people care about this film? What is it about it that you want people to know?
This film is a fresh perspective on people who connect with rivers, fight to protect them, because it focuses on that relationship and it kind of joyfully celebrates that relationship. That's quite a unique and a fresh take that I don't really see out there in campaign films. At screenings, people have come up to us and say they felt inspired, they feel touched, they feel connected in their own way to the river. I think that's what makes it quite special.
I'm hoping that it'll make people want to swim in rivers more. It kind of takes you on this journey so that even if you're someone who's never swum in a river before, I'm hoping it'll make you want to go out and seek these rivers and look at them and properly just immerse yourself in nature, because it is beautiful. One of the reasons I love swimming in the river is how I get transported, because you're surrounded by this beauty, foliage around you, the birds flying above you, sometimes ducks swimming alongside you. It's just magical. And so I'm hoping that people will care enough to use nature, because it is there for people to enjoy. And the more people use it, the more they'll care for it and the more they'll campaign for it. If the more people think rivers are massively polluted and you should stay away from them, the more polluted they'll get, because then they're left to their own devices. But then if you have people who are using it, then they care about it and then they push the right legislations to make sure that it's protected and it's clean. I'm hoping that this film gets more people to care. And I think it just goes to show it's very timely and there is a problem. And so if this film helps to add to the conversation and makes some kind of change, that's what I'm hoping. I mean, I'm hoping that happens with this. Yeah.
And I really love how, like, in a team that builds around a film, you know, I was following the campaign work, looking at all these wonderful, wacky things that Bristol people were doing. You know, Aggie was kind of like, oh, look at that relationship that people have and how special that is. And you come onto the team and you're like, yeah, this is about like rights and like, do we have rights to nature? And is it that people have an assumption to a right, but we don't have that enshrined legally? Or do people not think that we have a right to nature? When you talk about the film in your like excellent distribution work that you're doing, like connecting and contacting all the cinemas, what do you kind of say about the film when you're like connecting to the cinemas?
One angle that I'm really interested in is that angle of the world is complicated enough. We have enough problems. What we want to hear about is people who have solutions. And here, what I find most inspiring is we just have so many beautiful, interesting ideas, and I didn't even know that there can be such love for nature, that there can be such love for this natural world that we have, which is where this angle of human rights came in. Do we have the right to nature? And if we don't, why don't we? We all should have the right to have a space to, what you talked about, you know, birds flying above your head, swimming with ducks. I was like, I'm captivated by that. I want to swim with ducks. I don't want to get severe poisoning from swimming with ducks in a river because someone else made a decision to pollute it. That is the angle that resonates with people so much. This is the most grassroots film you could ever imagine, with two significantly magnificent women coming in. There was no film before. We're going to make a film. Then more people coming in, more people jumping on this ride. We want to tell a story. We want to tell you about one insane year in Bristol and all the activism that happened around the river. And here's a film that you can watch and you can enjoy it and you can leave the cinema a bit more inspired that you were when you walked in. And I just hope we're going to bring it to many more audiences in 2025 for everyone to be able to enjoy that film.
It's quite interesting because during the filmmaking process, I did have quite like a wobble, like as a director, thinking like, is this film too feminine? I don't know why I was worried about that. Like, of course a film can be too feminine. That's fantastic. It should be too feminine. Will everyone be able to connect with that? We screened the film at the Oxford School of Geography and had a panel with this student, and we were chatting afterwards. I was saying, you know, I'm worried it's a bit too feminine. She was like, of course it's feminine, because so many of the people who are fighting for this river, the men and the women, are actually eco-feminists. They're protecting a river out of love. That is how eco-feminists kind of protect, you know, the planet and protect nature. She was like, lean into it. That was a kind of like a wobble that I had halfway through, but I'm so glad I connected with her in that moment. It's not just about rights, but it's about how we respond to those rights and the motivations that we have as well.
I think that's a very interesting point, because to me, femininity and vulnerability are two different things. So I didn't think about it as a gendered thing, but this film nurtures the profound softness in people. You know, when people tell you to toughen up and harden up and you so what, the river's polluted, so what, this is happening. This film protects the most beautiful softness in people. And there's a climate activist, Michaela Loach, who actually talks about it. She talks about how she doesn't want to toughen up. She never wants to be hard. She always wants to be the softest, fluffiest version of herself. And to me, that is also the essence of that film, is people ready to admit they have feelings for this, people ready to admit they're moved by this beauty, and people just nurturing that instead of denying that, you know, instead of being like, oh, well, it's done, river's polluted, we can't swim, we're gonna go for a holiday to some foreign destination where we can. No, people are like, this is ours. We have the right to reclaim that, and no one should be able to take it away from us.
And to add to that, actually, what's curious is, yes, the film has a lot of women. I mean, we didn't choose those women. They were already doing their thing. We just captured them. But then the bit in the film that makes you cry is when Frank talks about his relationship to the river. So it's not necessarily like associating vulnerability and softness only with women. And that's something that it's so special that we have that, and we have it all. It encompasses all of those things.
There have been so many amazing people who have helped us on this journey. The support of companies, of individuals, of our fundraiser has been outstanding.
Thanks so much to Patagonia for hosting this panel here. I mean, it's incredible because Emma from Patagonia got in touch. She'd watched the trailer and said, this film looks really beautiful. We'd love to screen it in the store. And then so many people were coming to the screenings that she said, right, I need to book a bigger space. So she booked our local indie art cinema and ran a sold out event there. She also said, yeah, we're thinking about doing an illustration on the window. And I thought, sure, that sounds too amazing to be true. Next I hear is that this fantastic illustrator called Evie Grace, inspired by the film, created an illustration which she painted on the window. And you can see if you go past Patagonia on Park Street in Bristol, such a beautiful illustration, and it really speaks visually to that wonderful connection and flow that you have when you swim in a river. What I love about it is that it's more creativity. You know, the film's about that, and Patagonia have actually created more of that wonderful creative expression. We've had really wonderful support from the incredible charities out there that are really fighting for our rivers, like Surfs Against Sewage and the Rivers Trust and River Action.
Of course, we had the crowdfunding, which was amazingly supported. We got loads of people that contributed, so we can't thank you enough. Thank you very much for helping us get the cinema rating, getting the film into larger audiences. There's just been loads of people supporting in lots of different ways, so thank you very much.
Now that we've got a film, we're about to show it to you in so many cinemas nationwide, and we're very excited. And we'll be very grateful for that if you join us on this journey into having this story be seen and told on the big screen. If you'd like to know more, check out the links in the description of this video. Thank you so much and see you in cinemas.